Hello everyone. As part of a series of video lectures on rock mechanics and strata control, in this video lecture I'm going to cover uh, the contents under chapter 5 part 3. Okay, so before I start, let's move on what we had discussed in the last video session. Like, last video lecture we had discussed about what are the different types of supports and what kind of what you call the support systems that are used under various mining conditions, and what is the necessity of the supports and the supporting systems used to what you call the to control the strata in a roadway junction, and what is roof stitching, and what is the principle of working of roof stitching, how exactly it works, and then we moved on to what you call the roof bolting. Basically, like the roof stitching and roof bolting are used what you call if the roadway used for the movement of machinery, because whatever the conventional support that we use, they'll be uh, acting as an obstacle for the movement of the machinery. So in those situations, and for effective strata control, we'll be using roof stitching and roof bolting kind of thing. In case of roof stitching, basically it is something like a stitching different layers put together, right? It is something like what basically let us say one, okay. Let us say uh, this is the opening you made it, and these are the overlying layers of the strata, different overlying layers of the strata. Okay, which has extended up to certain extent up to the surface. Okay, so now let's see. Okay, let's say in case of roof stitching, like what you call some inclined holes like this, they will be drilled, and what you call rope is inserted between them, like this rope is being connected, and this rope is what you call, and it is being fixed by using what, some cementing or the grouting material into the hole. Then what happens, this rope is tightened against the roof by what you call the keeping some, by adding some wedges here. Let's use different color. Yes, some kind of different wedges here. These are all the different wedges, so that the rope will be tightened against this. So this is the principle involved in case of roof stitching. Similarly, in case of roof bolting, basically, right? If the wall, there are different theories. One is called suspension theory. Second one is called beam theory. Third one is called keying theory. If you look at here, right, like it's a similar kind of a principle, okay, which is being used in case of roof stitching. But in case of roof bolting, right, it's a suspension theory is nothing but what? Let us say you have got different layers of the strata. Let me choose. Let us say you have got different layers of the strata. You have got different layers of the strata, something like this. Okay, there are different layers of the strata, and suppose let's say these top layers, right? If you look at these top layers, they are strong. Okay, and the layers which are present immediately above the opening, let us say they are of weak. So these layers can be what you call joined, or can be combined like this, or can be what you call grouted, or what you call suspended, right, to the upper layers by means of roof bolting. This kind of this theory is called suspension theory. Okay, whereas in case of what you call the beam theory is nothing but the top layers, right, as an individual, as a this I explained very clearly in the previous video lecture. If you still have any doubts, and I'll give simply I'll simply give what you call some outline of it. If you still have any doubts, you can okay, refer previous video lecture. Okay, in case of beam theory, basically what happens, right? The layers which are present above the opening, as an individual, what happens? They are of what? Weak. Like this. They are of weak. As an individual, they are weak. But if I join them together, they'll form a vertical, some kind of composite beam, which is composite beam, which is a kind of what self-sustain, which is of strong enough so that they can self-sustain on their own. Okay, these are the different layers, and I'm combining all these layers, right? I'm combining all these layers, something like this. So what happened now? Here, these layers, individual layers, are joined by means of root bolts, so that they'll form a composite beam kind of thing. That's why that theory is called composite or beam theory. Beam theory. And the third one is what you call keying theory. Keying theory is nothing but, suppose let us say, let me clear this. Suppose let us say this is the opening. These are all the different layers of the strata. Something like this. These are all the different layers of the strata. Okay. Now you have what some kind of what you call the cracks like this. Development of some cracks. Now what happens, right? The root bolts are installed in such a way that, because basically due to the presence of these cracks, there will be a lateral movement, and due to due to lateral movement only, there will be a separation between the layers of the strata. So our job is what you call to restrict the movement between the weak layers, right? So for that purpose, what we will be doing is basically we will be providing a support like this. They are called the bolts. So in keying theory is nothing but what you call, in keying theory, the root bolts are what you call installed in such a way that, like whatever the what you call the disconformities or the joints that are present in the above layers of the strata. Okay. Like we need to restrict the what you call the movement of strata between those layers. So for that purpose, like what you call we are keying what you call the all these layers put together, right, by installing a root bolt against those weak planes. So this principle is called keying theory. So that is what we discussed in the previous video lecture. That what you call, one is the principle of root bolting, and the next one is what theories of root bolting. Next, what are the merits and demerits of root bolting basically. So look at here, compared to the conventional method, right? In case of root bolting, it has got certain advantages, at the same time some disadvantages too. Like what you call advantage is something like what the roadway, it requires less manpower, and it can be easily installed, quickly installed, so that they'll start carrying the load. They'll start carrying the load. Coming back to the disadvantage, just to outline the disadvantage of them, like basically, right, what are the root bolts that we have installed in the field, right? So even though after completion of the workings, we cannot what you call take them out, right? Because we need to simply leave them as it is in the what you call the golf area or in the worked out area. So that is another disadvantage. And the next one is the installation of the root bolts required what you call some sort of what you call the skilled persons basically. Like if any person cannot what you call go ahead and install the or setting out the root bolts, right? Basically because it requires what you call the capsules has to be grouting capsules has to be installed in a systematic way, and what you call the, and at the same time the root bolt has to be turned so that enter grouting takes place, so that it can fix the complete layers of the strata. So it requires some sort of what skilled person, okay, to carry out the root bolting operation. So these are the merits and few of merits and demerits of root bolting. From examination point of view, all these concepts are very important. And apart from these topics, we also discussed about the construction details of friction prop. Like the friction prop is also known as what you call a yield prop. Because if you look at here, this is what I had explained in the what you call the previous video lecture. Basically, in that what you call the friction prop, it is also known as yield prop. Why it is? Because here it consists of two telescopic kind of members. Okay, one telescope is nothing but one will move inside the another, and those two members are what you call the are clamped together by means of a friction block placed between these two, and they are clamped together. So depending on the grip, right, at the clamping portion and the coefficient of friction between the inner member and what you call the outer member, right, and how exactly the grip is present, how exactly the coefficient of friction is present. Okay, based on that, like it will carry the load. So, basically here the main principle involved is the carrying capacity of this particular support is mainly based on the coefficient of friction that is present between the the two fixed members of the support. So this is what we have explained in the previous video lecture. Okay, let's move on. Okay, in this video lecture, I'm going to cover the construction details of hydraulic prop. This is also the kind of what you call the yield prop, or it is also known as the early setting prop. Basically, early setting prop. Next one is procedure to clean up heavy roof fall. Like how exactly in a roadway junction, let us say if there is a heavy roof fall, and what is the procedure that we need to adapt? Systematic procedure, and what exactly the systematic procedure that we need to adapt so that we can clean up that area and to support the entire area, entire roof fall area. Next, what is the what you call the how to withdraw the supports, right? What are the support that we used in the worked out or in the during the what you call the mining operation, right? If they are present in the what call the remote area or the worked out area, we need to withdraw them, and by staying at the safer distance. For that purpose, we will be using the instrument that we will be using is of Sylvester prop withdrawer. Okay, so in this video lecture, I'm going to explain how exactly we are going the Sylvester prop withdrawer works and how it will be used for the withdrawal of the supports. Okay, then like some other advanced concepts, like basically even though if it is not part of the syllabus, I'm just trying to put it out here just to give some idea, like what are the advancements that are taken place in the recent scenario in the field, like cable bolting. Basically cable bolting, and how exactly the cable bolting and what way like it is superior to the what you call the conventional bolting, what are the bolts we are using, right? So what way it is superior to that, why this technology has been evolved. And apart from this, I would like to discuss at the end, right? I'd like to add few more things. One is called active supports, and the second one is passive supports. So guys, if you look at what you call in any what you call entrance examination, okay, these are all the very things basically what you call very important topics. Let me add this here. Second one is active supports. And what are active supports? Active and passive supports. Even though these two, okay, so that I won't forget. So I just added here. Fine. Let's move on. Let me save them. Let's move on. Okay. So next, let us see. First topic is what construction details of hydraulic prop. So what exactly is hydraulic prop and how exactly looks it works? A hydraulic prop is a simply hydraulic jog. These are the props you have been used on a long wall mechanized faces in our country. Okay, hydraulic prop can be set to take immediate 3/4, means 1/3 of its maximum load. It can take immediately. Okay, 3/4, sorry, 3/4, 3/4 of maximum load. That is nothing but maximum load is nothing but yield load. But when overloaded, it will yield at a design load, after which the resistance is uniform and is about what 3/4 of the maximum load. It immediately this one. That is the reason the what they call quick loading props or early load bearing props. An example of early loading bearing prop is hydraulic prop. This is very important from any examination point of view as well as an entrance point of view. Okay, so the early, once again I'm reiterating the example of what you call early loading bearing prop, or the prop which what you call the start taking the load immediately soon after its setting is known as what you call hydraulic prop. Or you might have what you call the face the question something like what in an underground opening, right, where you wanted to pick the situation is something like what you need to erect the what you need to support that particular area immediately. So which kind of supporting system that you will be using? So in order to support the freshly exposed roof immediately and which will start carrying the load immediately, in such a situations we'll be using hydraulic props. Okay, that's the reason hydraulic prop is also known as what you call early loading bearing props. And another important question, I just wanted to add it here, something like what, suppose I made an opening, and within how much duration I need to provide the support of that particular freshly exposed roof, within how much duration. So So it's not like, I will be leaving entire shift and I'll come to the next shift and whoever comes the next week they'll start supporting. No, it's not like that basically. So as per regulation, right, or as per the whatever the field conditions, right. So soon after making the exposure, what you call the advancement of the phase. Okay, soon after making an excavation into the face, and whatever the with the advancement of the face, whatever the freshly exposed roof that is present, it has to be separated immediately within 2 hours of the what they call the uh, time of advancement of the face basically. So it has to be supported. The freshly exposed roof has to be supported within 2 hours of what they call the advancement of the face. That's what it is. Okay, this is very important. Next one, let's move on. What is hydraulic prop now? Look at here, as I said, right, it consists of let me take annotate. Okay. Yes, I have drawn. Okay. Yep. Let me put this up. Okay. Right, look at here, it consists of two cylindrical members. So this is outer and this is inner. These two are the inner one, telescopic kind of thing. Okay, and this is the top portion where it carries the load. Fine. Next one, what you call, there will be an what you call hydraulic fluid present inside this. There will be some hydraulic fluid inside this portion. So let me share. Yeah. Okay. This is right. So the complete hydraulic fluid is present inside this one, and due to this fluid itself, this is what it is. Okay. So basically, what happens now? Like due to presence of. So now what it does now? See, basically, there is one what you call one pressure relief wall which is present at the top portion. I'll tell you what is the purpose of this, because we need to understand the different parts of it. There is a connecting lever which is connected to the non-return wall. This is non-return wall, guys. Basically, what happened, right? During cranking operation, this lever is called cranking lever, so that you can manually what you call the set the prop. You can keep on cranking it, right, like this. What happens? It will rise, and the corresponding vertical hydraulic pressure in this outer chamber will increase. Hydraulic fluid from the lower chamber to this keep on coming because we are operating this, right? So it will allow the fluid to flow inside this so that it will rises. So this is called a cranking lever. Okay, this valve is called non-return valve. Non-return valve is nothing but it will allow only the fluid in one direction. It is something like what you call, it will allow only in during cranking operation, it will allow only in one direction. It is something like this. Fluid will go only one like this whenever you are doing this operation. If you are operating this, okay, this is how it is. Because of this, whatever fluid that is present, right, it will be what you can flow only in one direction, and it will not go out like this. It will not go. Okay, so that's why it is called non-return valve. So now let's say I have erected the it. So basically, it consists of one outer cylinder and one inner cylinder. Both one will move. It's a kind of telescopic kind of thing. One will move inside another, and there will be a what you call the pressure relief valve at the top, and the bottom of the inner cylinder contains one non-return valve, and there will be what you call between the pressure relief valve and non-return valve is connected to the cranking lever by means of some kind of attachment here. Okay, so whenever you wanted to crank it up, the raise the height of it, just by operating this handle, okay, whatever the hydraulic fluid present inside the inner chamber, that will come out to the outer chamber. As a result, it will raise up, and what you call so that we can set the prop against the roof up to the required height. Okay, suppose let's say if the load acting on the prop exceeds its capacity, what happens now? Then it has to start yielding, right? That's why it is called yield prop. Am I right? If you look at the what you call the load yield characteristics which we discussed, right? So something like this, right? If you remember, or if you don't understand, right, please refer previous video lecture. There I have clearly explained this. So as the load, this is how it is. And whenever, in case of what you call, in case of rigid prop, right, it will fail because when it reaches maximum, it will fail. It is like. And in case of what you call yield prop, right? basically it will continue carrying the same load. So it won't fail. It will continue carrying little bit more, less, but it is continue carrying the same load. Am I right? This portion still carrying it. It's not failing. So this behavior is called yield behavior. This behavior is called yield behavior. If it fails like this, this is the property of what you call characteristic of rigid props. So here what happens, whenever the load acting on this one, load acting on this prop exceeds its capacity, what happens, right? This pressure relief valve will operate, which in terms operates this, which opens this non-return valve. So when this valve will be opened, as the pressure is increased, whatever the excess of loading acting on that, right? Whatever the hydraulic fluid that is present inside this cylinder, okay, outer cylinder, right? So it has to close down, right? Somehow. So basically for that, okay, yeah. So it will, due to operation of that, it will come up. So fluid will go inside of this. So as a result, what happens when fluid will go like this? It will come down. This will come down. So the entire setup will come down. It will go down. So this is what it is. This is how it operates, right? Whenever the load acting on it exceeds its maximum capacity, it actuates or it operates. As a result, this pressure relief valve will be operated, and with this one, right, it will open the what you call non-return valve present here, and whatever the hydraulic fluid which is at a great pressure that will enter into the lower chamber, what you call the inner chamber. As a result, it will go down, it will slide down. So this behavior is called, it won't, it is still continue carrying the same load, but it is gradually going down, but it won't fail. This behavior is called yield property. That's all. This is about the principle of working and the construction details of yield prop or hydraulic prop. Hope it is very clear. So let's move on. Okay, look at here. So the piston at the top of which top member to which it is fitted does slide down. Okay, unless the load on it exceeds certain limits. The resistance to the downward movement of the upper member is provided pressure of the oil in the cylinders. Am I right? Hydraulic, there's nothing but hydraulic pressure. And this oil pressure builds up by the operation of the pump at the time of setting of the prop in position. It could be what you call manually operated, or when you are using what you call some kind of what you call by using some external pressuring devices, so that you can what you call set the you can insert the hydraulic fluid at a high pressure, basically. So depending on that, whether you are operating manually or whether you are operating the circuit is of open, like it is something like what putting what you call the filling air into the tires of any vehicle, basically. So in that case, what happens, right? Whatever the pressure, whatever the pressure it has to be set, right? There will be what you call separate compressor outside, and you will be taking that injecting inlet, right? Whatever you have, that will be using that. We can fill the what you call the air into the tires. In the same way here also, whether it is what you call hydraulic fluid is being what you call the pressure of the hydraulic fluid present, so as to set the prop. Whether it is of closed circuit, nothing but the fluid is flowing within the prop. So it is being, in that case, it is be operated manually. So in case of open circuit, what happens? What you call the pressure will be, prop will be set by using some external pressure, external pressuring unit, basically. So there are two ways to building up the oil pressure in the prop by a pump. One is closed circuit, second one is open circuit. Okay, in the closed circuit system, a built-in pump is provided in the prop itself and forms an integral part of it. The pump is operated by an external detachable handle. Okay, the one which we discussed, right? In the open circuit, an external pump serving the number of props from one central site is connected to the prop by high pressure hose pipes. Okay, and operation of the pumps builds up pressure of oil contained in the cylinders of the prop. Okay, next, the non-return valves provided on the prop retain the oil pressure. That's what we discussed, right, in the previous previous slide. The non-return valve provides on a prop retain the oil pressure. The largest manufacturers of hydraulic props in the country is MAMC Durgapur. Manufactures props of both designs, that is the closed circuit and also open circuit. So that's what it is. Okay, let's move on. In MAMC, hydraulic prop consists of essentially of an inner tube and a pump cylinder with oil, a guard tube and a release valve, a non-return valve, and the main piston, and a top extension fitting, and a pump and a release shaft. The inner tube and the pressure cylinder can be extended like a ram by hydraulic pressure. The pump can be actuated by an outside key or handle. That's nothing but what you call the cranking lever. Okay, a large number of a larger diameter steel tube connects the lower reservoir with a what you call the relief valve capsule. Okay, the action of the handle pumps the action of the handle pumps the oil from the inner tube to the inner tube, thus extending the inner tube. Am I right? It will whatever the oil present that is inside inner tube, it will come to the external tube. As a result, it will be extended. After the prop has been so extended up to the roof, further operation of the pump handle provides the initial bearing pressure. That is nothing but setting load, which is 5 to 8 tons. Okay. Next, the pump handles is then withdrawn because what is the cranking that is there that you can take it out. Okay. In course of time, when the roof pressure on the prop gradually increases, the inner tube will slide down till the load is 40 tons. The capacity of since the capacity of generally the capacity of the hydraulic prop is 40 tons. So this is very important bit from an entrance point of view. Okay. The in case of a 40 tons prop, right, hydraulic fluid is compressed till the load is reached. When the load of the prop exceeds 40 tons, the relief valve operates. Am I right? The pressure relief valve operates, and which in terms actuates the what you call the non-return valve. As a result, whatever the hydraulic fluid at a higher, which is present at a higher pressure, right, it will go into the inner what you call the inner tube, so that it will slide down. That behavior of prop is known as yielding or yield behavior. Okay. The relief valve is a capsule permitting the adjustment and the test prior to insertion of the prop and is set to the correct yielding pressure before the prop is assembled in the factory. During the yield, the oil pressure may be 200 to 500 kg of kilogram force per centimeter square. The prop can be withdrawn easily by pulling the release shackle, which activates the cam and lifts the valve assembly of the seating, allowing the free flow of oil back to the top reservoir. Withdrawal can be effected from a distance by activating a chain to the relief valve shackle and pulling them. This I mean we can take it out. Yeah, but whenever the works are over, we can withdraw the what you call the hydraulic props very easily just by adding what you call the whatever the shackle or the connecting lever that is there. Okay, to which a chain is attached so that we can, if you pull the chain, right, it will gradually activate the lever, and so that whatever the hydraulic fluid present in the outer cylinder or outer tube, that will go into the reservoir of inner tube, so that it will go down. Next, the hydraulic prop can be tightened in few seconds to a length within the wide range. The pump handle is the only tool required for operation when the prop can be released or withdrawn in a few seconds. That's what it is. Next, as a result of okay, that's what it is. This is about what you call the operation of hydraulic prop. This is very very important from examination point of view. You need to draw this diagram and what you call mark with different. It's very simple diagram. I just thought of making it as simple as I can. Okay, simple line diagram. You can draw it and just what you call you can name different parts of it and start explaining them. So okay, that covers the hydraulic prop part, the functional details and the construction details of hydraulic prop. Next, let's move on. In case of heavy roof fall, okay, in a mine while carrying out the mining activity, right? In case of heavy roof fall, how the clearing up heavy roof fall? I mean, what are the procedures that we need to adapt so that we can what do you call this one? See here, there is a heavy roof fall. Then how to support this one? Then what procedure we need to adapt so that we can clear out this safely? We can clear out remove this heavy roof fall. So how to handle such a situation? Okay, that is being covered as part of this topic. Okay, see here, clearing up heavy roof fall. Okay, this. Clearing up heavy roof fall. As a result of roof fall, the haulage rope cables may be buried. Okay, because they may be buried inside the debris, right? And if the debris blocked up the roadway right up to the roof, and the ventilation is affected, if there is no other path for the ventilating air. Okay, this is what the what you call the real-time scenario. Like the complete road junction area or whatever it is there, right? That is being closed, and whatever the ventilation passage that was present, right, it has been blocked, and what are the ropes were present, right, for supply of electricity or for some other purpose, right, for connecting some machinery or whatever it is. Okay, they might have buried into the what you call the debris inside the debris due to heavy roof fall. Okay, so in such a situation, so how to proceed? If the roadway is the only access to in by workings, if the workings are stranded, and it is therefore necessary to clear up the roof fall speedily, because it has to be, because we need to restore the things so that We have to supply required ventilation air to the workers present in the other side of it, right? So if it is used, the roadway is of main access, then we need to, what is the clearing of the debris has to be carried out speedily, and the experienced timberman should be entrusted with the job. Power from the buried cable should be switched off. It has to be, because whatever the cable that are present, right, whatever the power, right, that is being power that is being passed through the particular cable, it must be switched off. Next, in all such cases where the roof fall has to be cleared up, and the work must always be done from a safe place. And as the debris is cleared, support should be set so that the place out by is always free from danger. In the below figure, the sets of props and ban are erected at A, B, C after dressing the roof, because we need to dress the roof so that there will not be any chips falling out of it. Okay, roofs, and we can clear what you call the we can clean the what you call the, what are the loose rock that might fall in future, right? Loose rock, and the uh, approaches to fall and approach to fall made safe. We need to clear that. Chipping out of the roof has to be carried out. Next one. See, this is the diagram. A, B, C, these are the different points. Okay, this we need to do. First, we need to carry out this operation from a safer place. So for that purpose, immediately we need to what you call the support this area where there will be a what you call the presence of the person. Okay, if required, right, the crossbars will as being used. Okay, and here what happened, the heavy ref area, soon after clearing this, right, gradually, first we need to erect some kind of what you call the crossbars or chuck supports here, and the junction. And this junction side also, this side also. Once you make this entire area safe, then you clear out everything. Okay, so as to restore the work. Okay, this is what the procedure that will be carried out. See here, cogs or chalks, right? This we discussed in the previous video lecture. What are the different types of supporting systems and where exactly we will be using cog or chalk or chalkmate. Chalkmate is the term used in metal mine. Okay. Cogs are erected at a junction as shown at D, and the bars are placed over the cogs, because if the sides are weak, definitely over the cog, the bar, what you call the cogs will be placed. Standing at a safer place near the cogs, the loose or hanging pieces of the roof are dressed down by the timberman with a button. Okay. Next, with a what you call button, nothing but with a kind of what you call some rod, iron rod kind of thing. Using that, you can chip it out. Pieces of the roof dressed down by the timberman with a button. Next, debris of the roof wall is then removed by the workers and packed up in a nearby galleries. But where speed is essential, it may be packed along the sides of the haulage road, because it requires less time and I wanted to clear it immediately. Just place it in the sides of the roadway, then later we can clear it up. Next, temporary support props with a thick and wide sole plate and the top lids are erected on the debris, because there are what you call loose alleys present and you won't find a solid floor kind of thing. Still, you can temporarily you can erect the props for the temporary purpose, right? So for the temporary supporting purpose on a debris to support the roof temporarily for safety of debris clearing major safety of debris clearing major debris. Okay. Next, the roadway is thus partially cleaned so as to establish the ventilation. First, we need to establish the ventilation and to remove the trapped main, right? If the haulage rope is freed by clearing the debris, it is used for expediting the operation by loading debris into the tubs. Because if there is a haulage roadway, right, first gradually we need to clean it and make the passage of the tubs cleared, so that we can load whatever the side what you call the debris that we kept on the side, we can load into the tubs, and so that we can clear the debris immediately. Next, the temporary supports are then replaced by permanent one like cogs, bars for at least 15 meters on all the sides of the junction. Okay, on all the sides, right? In the previous slide which I had shown that. Okay, if the place is important and the life of the roadway justifies the expenditure, the place may be supported by brick wall with girders and corrugated galvanized iron, because it's an expensive process. So depending on the usage, like whether the what you call that particular roadway is used for what you call another like long duration of the life of the mine, then we need to provide proper supporting system. Because if it is used for frequent usage of what you call the traveling from the main machinery material, right? So depending on its usage and the life of the mine, right, we need to what you call the the cost incurred or cost the expenditure we want to spend, right? That has to be justified. So, like the place may be supported by brick wall, uh, over which the girders and corrugated galvanized iron sheets are placed. The cavity between the CGI sheets and the roof is packed with boiler ash, or cogs may be erected, because cogs may be erected over the CGI sheet to support the roof above. This permanent measure, however, uh, takes quite some time, because first initially we need to clear the debris temporarily and makes the passage clear, and what you call the restore the ventilation to the other side of the workings. Then you can make some initial that what the temporary support that you made it, right? We can replace them with the permanent kind of supports, and whatever the what you call the excavate what you call the roof cavity that got created due to roof fall, right? That can be filled with cogs kind of thing, what you call by supporting that particular roadway. So this is how it is being carried out. Next we'll discuss about the withdrawal of the supports. Basically, how exactly? See here, this is called Sylvester prop withdrawer. This is known as what? Sylvester prop withdrawer. Okay, here the Sylvester prop withdrawer. Basically, look at here. Here, this is used for the withdrawal of the supports. So let's say this is the prop I wanted to withdraw it. Okay, so what will be doing? 1 second, I'll tell you how exactly. Okay, let's say this is the prop. This prop I wanted to withdraw portion. Okay, and now this will is the operation of Sylvester prop withdrawer has to be carried out by staying on the safe side. So now one end of the what you call the prop withdrawer is being attached to one anchor prop. This is called anchor prop. It is being attached by means of chain. Okay, now I wanted to withdraw this. I wanted to pull out this. Then what to do? Like this, I need to take it out. Sorry. I wanted to take this one out like this. Then how to do it? Like this, I want to do it. Then how to do it? Okay. So how to carry out this basically? Look at here. So because this entire operation has to be carried out safely by staying on a safer side. So this is Sylvester prop withdrawer. It's kind of what you call the sawtooth kind of thing here, over which this sliding block will move. Okay, so one end of this one is being attached, the prop which is supposed to be taken out, right? It is being attached to the Sylvester prop withdrawer, or this sliding block by means of a chain. So with the operation of this is what you call operating handle. So with the operation of this operating handle, what happens? The sliding block will slide on the sawtooth kind of thing. This one. So it will slide. It will gradually, if you gradually operate it, right? It's some kind of cranking kind of thing. If you operate the lever in a phased manner and a step by step manner, right? It will come towards this side. So which will pull out this prop towards from the what you call erected place, so that we can take it out. So this is what exactly the principle of operation of Sylvester prop withdrawer. So look at here. So what exactly this? Withdrawal of supports. When the props, bars, or cogs have to be withdrawn, it is prohibited. Okay. It is prohibited by law to withdraw them by hammering, right? Because the person safety is very important. By hammering. Suitable safety prop withdrawer like Sylvester prop withdrawer has to be used. Okay. It is an advantage to fix the chain C on the prop P. On the prop P. In such a manner, before withdrawal, that when the chain is pulled and is getting tightened, the prop receives a slight twist on action, which loosens the prop in its position. Because by operating the lever over the what you call the sawtooth kind of arrangement present over which the sliding block will move, right? So with the operation of the handle, right, it gradually moves out and get tightened, and which eventually they loosen the prop out of its position. See, in the depilloring areas, a long chain is often required to in place of the chain C, because sometimes it's quite possible, right? The support is present in a far off distance, and you need to carry out this entire operation by staying at a safer distance. So in such situations, you might need a longer chain attached to the Sylvester prop withdrawer. To avoid such a long length, Okay, a flexible wire rope with a steel core. Example: 15 diameter coal cutting machine haulage rope having capel at both ends may be used in conjunction with the usual 6-meter long chain. That's what it is. Sometimes, like having a wire rope, having a small diameter wire rope with capels attached at both ends, so that we can fix them, and you can, by operating this Sylvester prop with dryer, you can take out the prop. So that's what it is. Okay. So this is about the Sylvester prop with dryer. Next, when the roof is high, when the look at here, when the roof is high, a suitable anchor prop may not be always available for operation of the prop withdrawal. In such a case, a piece of rail, because the other end of the Sylvester prop withdrawal has to be, look at here, this. Okay, it has to be what you call the it has to be attached to some what you call the some anchor prop, so that the entire set won't move toward the go area, right? So it has to be fixed, right? So for that purpose, the anchor prop will be used, which is present in the Sylvester prop withdrawer is attached to the anchor prop, which is being placed on the safer side of the workings. Okay. So where the roof is high and a suitable anchor prop may not be always be available for the operation of the prop withdrawer. In such a case, a piece of rail is fixed in half-meter deep into the hole in the floor. It serves the purpose of because we need to make some kind of a temporary arrangement, and which is used, which will act like what you call a piece of rail, which will be digged into the a hole is drilled, and in that what you call a solid rail is being placed, which will be acting like some kind of supporting on the safer side of it. Okay, which will be acting like what you call a replacement of anchor prop. Alternatively, a strong bar fixed in the coal pillar may be used to serve the object. Okay, care should be taken to see that the anchor prop or the other props which provide the safety to the timberman operating the prop withdrawal should not be dislodged by the prop under withdrawal when it is released. That's what it is. It should not come out. It should be safeguard the person, right? The safety of the person who is operating, that is very important. Okay. So whatever the anchor prop that we have, it has to be what you call the stable enough. Even the whenever you are trying to withdraw it, right, it should not come out. So that's what. So this is what exactly the basic principle of operation and the working of the Sylvester prop withdrawal, to withdraw the which basically used for the withdrawal of the supports present in the remote area. Okay. Next, coming to the cable bolting. So this is very, very important, and it's a kind of new concept came into the picture. Suppose let us say, one second, let me add one new slide so that one sec, cable bolting. Let me use this. I just intentionally took one new slide. Let me annotate it. I'll draw some diagrams here. It's easy for me to explain. Okay, let's say what exactly, why we need to use a cable bolting. What exactly the advantage of cable bolting over the other supports? Okay, that's what I'm trying to emphasize here. So this is the roadway. Okay, these are the overlying layers of the strata. I just let me use a different color for this. Yep. These are all the different layers of the strata, right? So due to, look at here, there will be a lateral movement of the strata, right? Due to this opening, there will be a lateral movement of the strata. Because of this only the bed separation, and the redistribution of the pressures, redistribution of the load took place, right? Am I right? This I hope this is clear. Now, suppose let us say, if I use the conventional support, like the solid kind of support, let's say I have used support something like this. This is my support. Okay, I just used it. Let me put something here. Sorry, not that. One sec. Let's say here. This is what my support kind of thing. Imagine this is what support. Suppose if there is a movement of strata, what happened? This will tries to what you call due to application of this, right? It will tries to push like it will try to push like nothing but it will try to what you call even because of this also it will happen, right? Like so as a result, what happened, right? Whatever the RuPaul that was present, something like vertical. Like, this is a support from it. Okay, I'm just drawing it. Let's say this is a support. Okay, due to movement of this strata, due to movement of this strata, the support is subjective. Sorry, it is something like this, right? Due to movement of this one, right? So in order to accommodate this lateral movement of strata, and what so that the roof vault will not fail. Otherwise, what happens, right? Due to this lateral movement of strata, whatever the roof vault that we used, which is tightened against the hole, right? This one, right? It get loosened and it will fail. What are the grouting material is there and which is being binded to the surroundings of the hole made, right? So it will get loosened. It will get loosened. So that leads to failure of that. So in this case, what happened? Due to this lateral movement of the strata, what is happening here is basically there will be what you call the binding portion that is present between the sides of this hole, right? Basically, it's get loosened. So there will be what you call some kind of what you call the loose and whatever the fixed binding is there, right? What you call that adhesive material, it's get loosened. As a result, this will slide off. Otherwise, had it been this because due to these forces, it is trying to bend the what you call this one. Get here. It is trying to bend this one. Earlier it was vertical, right? It was like this. But if it bends something like this, then it is up to you. It is something like it is trying to bend like this. But because of since it is a since it is a solid rod, kind of thing, it won't subject it to some kind of bending. Had it been in place of this, if I use what you call the cable bolt, what happens now? If I use a cable bolt, right? Cable bolt kind of thing, it will bend according to this moment, so that it won't get loosened out of the what you call the anchoring portion. It will be still tightened or still intact to the surrounding rock. At the same time, it will bend, it will act according to the lateral movement of the strata. This kind of flexibility is being provided using cable bolting. Whereas the main disadvantage of the normal roof bolting is what? In case of it cannot accommodate the lateral movement of the strata, or it cannot what you call adjust according to the lateral movement of the strata, so that it won't fail, because it is subject to the what are the solid rod that is present as part of roof bolting, right? It won't subject it to some kind of bending. As a result, it's get loosened against its periphery binding material attached to the periphery of it, or it's surrounding it, and it will slide down, which leads to failure of the roof bolt. So if I replace the solid roof bolt with what we call with cable bolting, solid roof bolt with some kind of cable bolting, what happens now? Cable is kind of some flexible, right? I drilled a hole and what you call the place the corresponding cable inside the hole, basically. So what happened, due to cable bond, it is being tightened, and the grouting material placed, everything is same as that of what you call the normal roof bolting. Now what happens, due to lateral movement of the strata, the cable is also subject to some kind of bending. So since the cable is itself bending to accommodate whatever the strain that got produced due to lateral movement, right? There will not be any failure of the what you call the bolts, right? That's the reason. Okay, we'll be using cable bolting, guys. So this is what exactly the advantage of. Cable bolting. Okay, hope it is clear. So let me clear this. Okay. So now what is one second. What is cable bolting? The field application, the ground control for different fields of application, from coal mining to hard coal mining. That is where it is being used in case of coal as well as the metal ferrous mines is being used. Bolting in a limited space condition. It is used in case for to reinforcement of roadways and gateways. Bolting in hanging wall of long T junctions. What are the advantage now? Long cable bolts are easily what you call displaceable in limited space. Am I right? Because see here, there are situations, what you call if you look at right, there are situations where there was in the field, right, heavy rooffall in the roadway junctions where the cable bolts are sorry, where the what you call the normal bolting is being used. See the length of the bolt, right, normal conventional bolt that we'll be using, it is up to a maximum height of how much, 1.5 to 2, or nowadays it is of maximum of 2.5 meters. It won't go beyond that particular depth. So suppose if I wanted to, what do you call, if there is a movement, right, in the layers of the strata above the length of 2.5 meters, what happens? So this roof bolt, whatever the roof bolt that I have what you call attached or for supporting, right, it will not resist that particular movement. So that in such a situation, whatever the beam that was formed due to what you call the due to placement of these bolts, right, it will fall just like a solid kind of beam, which results into heavy roof fall. So in order to what you call the further strengthen or resist the movement of lateral movement of strata at a deeper levels, right, we'll be using the cable bolting. So in this case, the maximum length that when you there are incidences, right, up to 6 meters, 7 meters length, you can use like one simple cable and you can start bolting it. So which will pretty much resist the movement of the strata even at a what you call at a deeper levels or at a what you call at a above levels, right? At a above levels of length more than 2 meters or 2.5 meters, since the rope cable bolting can be installed up to a length of 6 meters. So long cable bolts are easily dispensable in a limited space. High load bearing capacity at a low weight per meter. Flexible bolt length. Installation using cement catheter resin catheter semi grout or injection resins. Okay. So next one, installation procedure. First, what we will do now, we'll drill a hole, and into that, whatever the cable that we have, generally the round standard rope cable with the fiber core around is being used. Okay. So the choice of the bolt diameter depends on the drilling machinery, cable bolt length, and the bond medium. Okay. In version A, first what we will do now, first step is what? Filling the bowl with a cement grouting synthetic resin capsule, then insert the cable in the bowl. Okay, and the insertion of the bolt with factory installation injected hose and subsequent, see here, this is first one is what, first phase is there are two different types. One is what you have drilled one hole and what I call inject the cementing material into this. So basically it is something like what, in top right you have drilled some kind of hole, something like this, you have drilled this hole and inject the what you call cementing material into it. What we will be doing now, first inject the cementing material into this. So this is how we'll be doing. We'll be injecting the cementing material inside this. Then place the cable bolt into this. And the second case is what you call the cable bolt itself contains some kind of hose pipe. First insert the cable, which contains some kind of hose pipe, as that I will be showing in the next slide. Okay, and throughout the hose pipe you will be injecting the corresponding grouting material. Okay, then what we will do, we'll be tightening this what you call the bolt, right? Either of these two, and we'll be tightening this bolt again what you call by tightening this bolt, right, by fixing the clamp and the corresponding nut and bolt. Okay, at the ends of it. See here, anchorage of the anchor head, plate and wedge or presses sleeves. Next, pre-stressing of the anchor and wedge sleeves using the cable bolt tensioner. Look at here. This is what the diagram of it. Just a minute. Okay, this is a vertical one simple example of exactly the vertical. This is a rope to which this is being attached. So this is being used. This is some kind of conventional kind of thing. So this is a bearing plate which I can keep it here. Okay, W stop kind of thing. So that what you call this one, it will bear the load. Why will be use the W start? Because look at here, in the if the excess of load it, right, whatever the if I use the flat one, okay, it won't subject it to some kind of bending. Okay, it's a kind of flat what you call the bearing plate. Here if I use the double flat, because of this W portion, it might lead to some kind of, because if the load exceeds, right, it will become straightened. so that like it will give enough warning kind of thing, and it will bear excess of load also. It won't fail that easily. So that's what exactly the difference between the strap steel bit versus the flat what you call a steel bearing plate, flat kind of thing. So you might have seen in underground coal mines, right? In so many places, the W strap steel is being used. Why? Because see here it's a W kind of thing here, and it is not straight, and I am attaching this one here. So in the event of this, right, this will become what at max. What happens if the load acting on the bolt exceeds its capacity? It will become straight. The bearing plate will become straight. That gives some kind of indication that there is a chance of failure of this, or it will start with this bending of this, right? It will start still without failure. It will still start carrying some more load. So that's the reason we'll be using W steel straps or W steel strips. Okay. So this is what I was talking about. So this is a roof bolt. It should be having some kind of hose pipes inserted into this. So now what happened, right? There is one grouting. There are two things. One is the hose pipe is placed something like this, smaller one, and the other outlet pipe is something like this. Okay, and the other outlet pipe is something like this. Now what happens? Through this, the grout is being injected. It is going, and because if there is any air, right, that has to come out. So that will become by means of this one. So when the grouting material is completely filled, right? So whatever the water that is present through this one, it will come instead of air. If the water is coming out, that indicates what the entire length of the what they call the hole is being filled with the grouting material. So that's what it is. And the second case is what? Look at here. The grouting pipe is a bigger one. Okay. So grouting pipe is of bigger one. In this case, what happened? This grouting material is being placed. It is straight away go to the first at the other end of it. Okay. Then what happens? Gradually it will come down. Okay. So in the other down, see I'm injecting through this, right? What is the grouting material that is present, right? If it comes out of it, then that indicates what? Okay, it has been completely filled. So either of these is being used in coal mines depending on the situation. Okay. First case is what? The grouting pipe tube is smaller one, and the air pump air out pipe is bigger one. In this case, the grouting pipe is bigger one. So that initially the grouting material is injected at the other end of it. It starts from right from the beginning, and it will go. And how we know that the entire length of the hole is being grouted? Because what initially the air will come out of this till the material is being filled. Once the material is being filled, the entire what you call the grouting hole, right, or the roof bolt hole, the water, whatever the water that is present as part of the grouting mixture, okay, that will come come out through this one. So whenever the water is coming out of the grouting material, small portion of the liquid grouting material that will come out of this, which indicates that the entire portion is being completely filled with this one, so that we can what you call the rotate the cable pole and tight it against the roof. So that's how the what you call the uh, installation of this one installation of cable bolting is being carried out. Next, the last one, which I just added there, right? It's something like what are, I'll just give, like, I'll try to explain, like, what are the active supports and what are passive supports. See, the nowadays, right, because there are some questions. The reason why I'm adding this particular topic, even though I had not mentioned earlier, reason is actually there are a couple of questions that appeared in the entrance examination, or in any of the competency examination. People who are in Viva's examination, what are active types and the supports and what are passive supports? See here, active supports, active supports are those supports, okay, which will carry the load by setting itself. Nothing but, let's say, what you call, in case of rigid prop, in case of hydraulic prop, or in case of what you call the, let's say, uh, what you call expansion cell roof bolt, or the what you call the slotted wedge type of roof bolt. See, to carry the load, right, we ourselves offering some resistance to the roof, right? So we are offering it and carrying the load. So the set is being active is nothing but what? We are activating the support system so that due to what you call installation itself, by virtue of their installation, like they'll start carrying the load. Such a kind of supports are called active supports. So the examples of active supports are what you call the rigid props, hydraulic props. See here, we are setting it, and so that setting against with some force, so that they'll start carrying the load. Am I right? We're tightening them. So such a type of supports are called active supports. So people get confused, like between why what you call the hydraulic support is a active support, because if you look at the what you call the basic definition, or the what you call the theory or the concept behind the active support is nothing but due to movement of the strata, sorry, due to while setting out by virtue of setting out the prop. Okay, we are setting it and so that it start with a certain what you call the initial load, so that it will start carrying the load. So such a kind of setting out the props are called what you call active supports. Okay, so examples are what you call the friction prop, all the what you call friction props, hydraulic props, roof, all the what you call the wooden props, steel props, all these things. Okay, even in the what you call roof bolts, something like what you call the expansion cell kind of thing, because here we are setting out the proper what you call with the expansion of the cells and the slot and wedge kind of thing. In those kind of roof bolting, what happens? Like what are the anchors that we provided between the what you call the hole and the roof bolt, right? We are what you call we are pushing it with some force so that it start carrying the load. So that's why it is also known as active support. Now coming to the passive support. See, passive support is nothing but these are all the supports which will carry the load, which will carry the load only due to lateral moment of stator. Okay, once again I repeat, the passive supports are nothing but these are the supports which will carry the load only due to lateral moment of stator. For example, in case of what you call the resin capsule bolting, what we are doing now, we are simply pushing the cable and placing the grouting material and tightening it. That's it. Okay, so what happens? The rope bolts will carry the load only when there is a lateral movement of the strata, because it has to resist that, right? Due to movement of strata only, then they will start carrying the load. Here we are not externally applying any force, so that they'll start carrying the load. Such a kind of supports are called passive supports. The examples of passive supports are, okay, in roof bolting, not all the roof bolts, guys. This is very, very important. Not all the roof bolts. Fully grouted resin capsule roof bolting is an example of passive support, and the roof stretching is an example of passive support. Okay, whereas the other supports are comes under the category of active support. Okay, with this I'll conclude this video lecture. Okay, thanks for watching.